All right. So I know you guys have a busy schedule, so I'm going to get straight to the main points of AI and show you the website, show you how to find the cameras that have AI and deterrence. And then we'll get to the questions you may have. But you could always ask a question while I'm going, but I may not see your question since I have the questions minimized, and then Alan will probably speak up. First of all, our website has been updated, in case you already know or don't know, but this is where you would come to just navigate our products. And I won't go through everything. There's other webinars about the other categories, but I'm just going to show you, this is where you would click surveillance products to find AI, or basically every camera, you just look for the words AI in it, or intrusion or tripwire. Everything I'm going to show you today, look for, if you're interested, it's all about using cameras that have AI, intrusion, tripwire, the words IVS. When you're reading camera descriptions, the PDFs, look for those keywords. Let me go ahead and bring you a quick example. Here we go. For starters, I'm just going to show you my backyard. How am I using AI? I'm using AI to alert me whenever someone opens up my gate, if someone jumps over my gate, if someone jumps over here. I have as you can see, I have the shadow of this fence here because there's no reason for anyone to walk this way. It's a dead end. So I am interested in someone loitering in this corner, because right over in my corner, there's a little pipe for the city, and that pipe allows someone to step on. So this is an area where if someone's going to try to jump into my yard, they're going to try to leverage some pipe that's there. Otherwise, it's a little bit harder to jump. So this is why I have the rules that I want to know about any activity going this incoming or going. And then I had this other section here to detect opossums. I know it sounds funny, but I always wanted to know when there's possums hanging out so I could start going out there to chase them off. But so I'm going to show you how to draw those rules, how to apply schedules, how to set parameters, et cetera, et cetera. Again, AI does exist on coax, HD over coax. You have to get the NVR, that is AI, to make the cameras intelligent. But I'm going to mainly focus on the NVRs with the IP cameras. And then again, as mentioned, the title of the webinar is deterrence. Many cameras have AI, but only some have deterrence. You could make AI rules on most cameras, even if it's not going to have a siren or the PD lights. And the reason you would use AI on those cameras is so you could find history based on those AI rules. For example, let's say you have a camera recording the entire front yard of a house. It's going to record all the vehicles, all the people, but maybe you want to know only if you want to like filter how many times people came to your window. And that's why you would want to have AI lines right outside the window. And then the customer could easily find out how many peeping Toms came in a month to look inside their window, and then they maybe walked off. It's very important. It's little things like that that help you utilize AI. And but I'm going to be showing you deterrence as well. But everything I show you, I'm going to be focusing a lot on this camera, the PD camera. But everything I'm showing you today on the PD camera applies to any other camera, even if it's not going to be making sirens or alerts. It's all about making. I've been using AI for over going on 10 years or longer, but my point is AI was not, I don't want you to think AI is just about warnings and sirens. You could use AI to make your customer find history events that are custom. There's all sorts of scenarios. Some people want to find history only when people came into their business for customer counting, or they want to have a rule that says, hey, I want to find out how many times people got near my company gas pump for ambulance services, truckers. Imagine making a rule right on top of their gas pump, running the filter, and now you get to see, okay, did I see anybody using their personal vehicles, all because they get thumbnails right away. So that's how you use AI. It doesn't have to just be about deterrence and scaring people away, even though that's one of the features I'm going to be showing you. So here, let me go ahead and show you, let's see here. Let's go to this. Okay, let me show you how to find this PowerPoint presentation on our website. This is the area where you go and look at all our cameras. And like I said, look for anything that has perimeter protection, the words tripwire, intrusion. Again, it does say AI here, but there's sometimes a camera may not say AI, but it does have AI. For example, this camera doesn't say AI, but it has intrusion, tripwire, SMD. So don't assume just because the camera doesn't have it, and maybe we'll update that on the website because technically this is an AI camera. But I just want to let you know that if you see perimeter, tripwire, SMD, it is an AI camera. See here, like this one does not. So this does not have AI features. This one, it doesn't have AI listed, but it does say intrusion, tripwire. So some dealers have mentioned that to us. So we'll update the website to make it more clear. But this is what mainly, it's more important that what's in the details. So if you see intrusion, tripwire, it is an AI camera. Okay, so to find this power, like if you want to learn all the details, and I mean, I could go through this slideshow, but like I said, I know some of you got a busy schedule, maybe you have some jobs you need to roll to, but I'm gonna try to still take advantage of talking for 40 minutes, but you could go through this presentation at any time of your choice by clicking support. You scroll down to presentations, and you'll see this active deterrence presentation. You click it, and then it opens this up. So as I mentioned, it's all about making AI lines to create filter history events marked in the history so you could find it easier. Plus you could make it get a notification. And if the camera has a siren, you can make it also make a noise to deter. There's an algorithm that tries to filter out noise like trash. Say there's a windy day, it's not going to create an alarm or a notification just because a bundle of hay starts rolling through there. It's literally looking for humans or vehicles, depending on the settings that you do. And I'll show you that where you find that. Depending on the camera, you'll have like the lights, like I said. You could also talk using the app. This is how it looks in the app. You would be connecting, you push the talk button and you're now talking. There's a speaker that your voice comes out if you get the cameras that have the two-way audio. This goes through some models. Most of the time, you're going to notice that the AI cameras have an LED light. That's to help enhance and get color at night. Even without the light on, it does have built-in starlight. It will take moonlight, ambiance, or street lights to get color at night. It's up to you to log into the camera and say, you know what, I don't want that light on. It's still doing a good job getting color at night. You could disable that, or you could allow it to turn on to, help get more details of the criminal as they get closer. Let's go down. So I'm going to show you some examples of how I made some AI rules on some customer locations. So this is a home health that had a problem with break-ins. They had this main front door over here. They had the side door over here and the side door over here. Then they had the company vehicles parked at night. So what they wanted was, well, first of all, they were tired that criminals were breaking down. They had broken into this side door with crowbars and stolen computers, and it causes downtime. People show up, and now the nurse can't work. So it's a lot of problems. Like the owner now has to be paying and a nurse to not be working, and the criminals are probably just breaking in just to steal computers. They had an alarm system and everything, but the criminals break the door down. They probably, who knows if these criminals had walked into this home health and they saw the receptionist computer and they're like, we could easily smash and grab the door and just take the computer. Either way, they did not fear that there was an alarm because they know that cops take 5 to 10 minutes by the time the alarm goes off. So with the PD camera, you're able to set up a zone of tripwire. And now if those criminals come, what happens is the camera starts making the siren. It starts sending notifications to whoever has the app on the phone. And at the same time, you could also subscribe to our monitoring station. And now you could have a the security center call police to describe in real time what the criminals are driving in case the criminals start running away already. But the whole goal is to make the criminal just walk away. Like, oh crap, we already set up an alarm. We haven't even begun to break into the door. And that's the ultimate goal, to make them just leave. Because even if you catch the criminal, they break in, and let's say you recognize them and you put on Facebook, the news, you catch the criminal, for what? Like, there's still damage to the door. They still ripped out a computer. It's better. It was better off, worth more valuable, just to scare them away. So that's what the goal is with with the technology. So that's what we have set up here. Anybody that comes in after hours, if they start looking at these cars, a siren goes off saying that they're under surveillance. There's notifications that are sent, and you could also find history easier on the database when it comes to the AI algorithm. Go ahead and go to the next image. So as you see here, when you're going through history, it's all based on motion. Whether it's something in the background, the vehicles, the road over here on 10th Street, depending on where you're from. I don't know if you're from our area, but I want you to pay attention. You see these little red marks in the middle as I'm going? This enables the owner to find easily when was history happening on his parking lot. And if you remember earlier, I showed you this AI rule. So that AI rules to scare criminals. You see this other, like I showed you earlier. But not only that, it enables the owner to now easily see, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 events already, without him having to go through all that he didn't have to go through all that video just to look for when his a customer showed up or an employee was leaving. So that's another benefit of the AI, without you having to buy the PD camera necessarily. So remember, I said you don't have to always worry about AI with the PD camera. It's useful just on regular any camera. And let's say if I would have made AI rules right here, like near the windows, if this was a house, you could tell your customer, okay, I'm going to make you record all motion that happens in your front yard, the street, and everything. But at the same time, if you're ever curious and if you run the search for the whole month, I could help you find out, did anybody ever start going to your windows? Like, was someone peeking around in the nighttime? And I mean, in other words, if you were to find somebody going into your neighborhood to your windows, even if they didn't break in, that helps you be a step ahead. Like, hey, what's going on? Like, is this guy planning a break-in later on? It makes you have preventive maintenance. There's so many people right now that have camera systems and they don't even know that someone came to their window last week. And then they break in 2 weeks later because they felt confident, like after profiling your house for 2-3 weeks. If someone would have made AI lines on those windows, they get notifications that someone's getting too close to the window. That's how you stand yourself apart from your competition and start showing that you know how to use AI technology. So this customer, he's really happy that he's able to find when his employees leave. He, on his camera system before, he wouldn't even search history. It was pointless. He would only wait for a major event because he already knew that he would have to invest an hour. But all he does now is open up. He could literally just start clicking the red lines, and it immediately shows him when people were actually on his property. All the other yellow stuff, I promise you, it's all the background traffic. It's all the bank traffic. It's all the traffic over here. It's all stuff that's it's not really important to him, but it's actually important to know where a criminal came from. But he could still search immediately only his property when it really matters for everyday events. On the NVR or on the software, you're able to remove the check mark of motion, and it will just show you the red AI lines anyways. As you can see, I removed all motion just to show the AI line. So immediately I click that line. Again, this is a screenshot, and for presentation purposes, it's easier to show you screenshots compared to me logging into a system in real time that's over the internet. And but I'm just showing you the screenshots for now. You click here and it's showing that it's tracking that this vehicle and this vehicle and this vehicle all drove in at the same time. It was tracking all the 3 vehicles. And since everybody has to come through the IVS lines, it marked it on the history. And I don't have to worry about looking through all that motion. Even with the motion, I could still see the red lines. When you remove the motion on the history search parameters, if you click play, it'll start playing it and then it'll skip to the next one. So all you would see on this within, like if you're to say fast forward, you could literally see the entire day, probably within 2 minutes of only the information that was relevant to the property, which is it's a pretty cool feature. Okay, so let's go now into a live NVR that's here in our demo room. You log into the IP of your NVR, or you could do this locally on the NVR with the display. Log in. All right, well, this is a live view. I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to assume that most of you have already been using the TOUGHDOG NVRs. And this is just, you wanted to come to this webinar just on the topic of the AI. So I'm going to go to AI, and this is where you would set up the parameters. So AI search, you would close. The system always remembers what you were last in. So parameters, the PD camera, for example, is on camera number 1. So you would have to make sure you enable this light bulb. This is how you enable the IVS features. So by default, it's off. That way the NVR is not going to dedicate resources until you turn it on. Then you say apply. And since this camera has IVS, I'm not going to be using face detection and all these other settings. The NVR will have them there, but it only works if the camera has those features. So IVS. Takes a little bit of time to load. Okay, so let's pretend we're watching a sidewalk of a business, and let's pretend this camera is outside. I'm gonna go ahead and just delete everything, because this is exactly how you would see it on fresh. It won't have no settings in there, so I deleted them. So you click plus, and you're gonna add either a tripwire or a perimeter. I'm sorry, intrusion or tripwire. And I'll explain the difference right now. So tripwire is when you want it to make the event or the siren based on the line crossing only. And this will eliminate constantly noises and all that. And I'll explain when you would use those situations. So let's pretend this is the sidewalk here. So let's just draw it here. And okay, pretend this is the main door of the business and this is outside, this is like the street or whatever. And you're trying to scare people nicely, and then you want to make a more severe warning when they get closer to the door. So here on this rule, you enable camera audio, and then you say you want the police lights to go on. And then it also gives you where you have the schedule if you wanted to only do the siren after 7 p.m. till 6 in the morning. It all depends on the business. Again, the PD camera is usually done at businesses, because I've done it at homes, and well, majority of the times it's at businesses. So here's where you click schedule. For simplicity purposes, I'm just gonna leave on 24 hours, but this is how you would set it up if you wanted. I'm just gonna show you 7 p.m. till 7 in the morning. So the start time, it's in military time, and 7 in the morning. Okay, midnight till 7 in the morning. Then we see all days. So I'm gonna click schedule again. So it shows the blue when it's active. So it's only gonna be making sirens from 7 all the way till 7. All right, so this is where you would click to choose your audio. Now this is a siren an alarm noise, but there's you'll see that there's different deep settings that you could choose. Danger, no climbing, keep us away, et cetera, et cetera. Guys, I'm gonna give you a tip of where you can make a lot of money with this type of camera. If you have customers that have apartments, and what's the #1 rule? No one can enter the pool at 11 p.m. because they could get sued and all this stuff. In fact, if someone drowns at 1 in the morning, it's still the light. It doesn't matter how many signs there are. It doesn't matter how many warnings. It's still the apartment's fault because they had to do everything to deter someone away. They have to put locks. They have to know about it. So apartment managers, you go and tell them about this camera. I mean, you tell them you're gonna make a warning, plus the managers will get pop-ups. I mean, it's one of the easiest sell. So that's why you'll notice there's an audio setting there. You could say deep water, be cautious, or you could put even a custom message. You could say you're under surveillance, and I'm telling you, that's the #1 way I was selling it. A lot of people that had pools that were public that had to keep people away. But this other settings here, you at once again, even when they're over here, the camera will be still recording. What this post record means is how long do you want that red line to be? So once they hit that line, it's going to make that red mark for 10 seconds is what this means. It doesn't mean it's only going to record for 10 seconds because obviously they're still here. The camera's still recording motion and all that. It'll continue to record them. A lot of people get confused like, well, I don't want it just to record for 10 seconds. It's up to you. It's just all about that red line, the red marks. And that's pretty much it. It's very simple. I'm in my office. Otherwise, if I had the camera in my office, I could walk around and you could hear the siren go off. But this is pretty much how it is when you're making lines. Let me show you now perimeter. Intrusion. Intrusion, the reason I keep saying perimeter is because remember when I'm reading the specs on these cameras, you see how it says tripwire and intrusion? And then there's some that say perimeter detection. Perimeter. So that's why I keep saying perimeter. But intrusion and perimeter is the same thing. It just means a perimeter. So intrusion, it wants this is what this looks like. It does a line, but it continues to want, the way you do it is you make an enclosure. So what this is doing is it's also based on the line being crossed. Like at any point, all these lines, when they get crossed, it'll make the alert, but it gives you the option now for if they're within. So let's say you drew a perimeter around a field, and the camera will constantly be making noise as that person is always on site. And that's a good feature for businesses because they really want to be scaring them away. So a lot of people get confused, like when should you use tripwire or intrusion? It's really up to you. Just if you really want to be scaring people and you're trying to use, you're kind of confused on what you should use, then I recommend just stick to intrusion. Intrusion will make noises, it'll flash the lights when they hit the line, and it's going to continue to flash even when they're not hitting the line, but when they're within the box. So if you want less noises, less alerts to the person's phone, you use tripwire. It's only based on that one time as they cross the line. So you see how intrusion has a peer and cross, and then I'm going to go back to the tripwire. And tripwire doesn't have a peer or cross. It's just based on that line. These cameras, you could use them standalone with an SD card. You don't have to be on the NVR like I'm doing right now. Right now I'm logged into NVR and it pushes out the settings to the camera. If I were to log into the IP camera IP address itself, like say we removed it from the back of the NVR and now put it on a PoE switch on the customer's network and get into that IP, you would see that it would have all these settings already. because it's been pushed. But what I mentioned that because this PD camera or any of our AI cameras allow you to put them in any location where, let's say a customer already has a camera system that's already maxed out, but they still want more cameras. Well, you could still add this standalone IP camera and just tell us you want us to put the 256 gigabyte SD card in it, Western Digital Purple Series, and you're able to still add on to your customer's location. And you scan the P2P of the camera, and now it's an extra camera on their phone, and it sends alerts, and they could talk, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to show you now AI search from here. You click on the AI search, you go to IVS, you say search. It will make a database of every time those AI lines were crossed. So here's, this is when I was testing it earlier. So the AI search enables your customer or you to search it through the browser without having to go through the timeline of the graph on the traditional playback. This gives you, like, again, if I would have made AI lines based on how many customers entered your store, I could literally say the date, and based on today's date, I could say, okay, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 4, 5, 6 times 3 rows, about 18 entries. If I made the AI line based on incoming traffic. I'll go back to parameters. So let's say this is the, let me go ahead and just do this again. Then there's a pawn shop, and the pawn shop wants to know only how many times people were coming into the store. You would say, I only don't care about A to B. See how the arrow now? So now that rule, I could call it customers that came in. Customers that came in, and I save that. And now that database would probably have less thumbnails. Remember when I showed you all those thumbnails of 18 or whatever squares? It probably had it when it was showing the thumbnails when I walked in. It had the thumbnails when I was walking out. So technically, it was not a true way to say total incoming. But I want to show you that how you have so much flexibility to do this. Imagine your customer wants to know, hey, I want to get a thumbnail of every time my trailer trucks were driving into my parking lot. And so this is, you draw this line, especially if you have this camera mounted up high, you know, on the side of a building or two-story building, you'll be able to see that entrance from far away, and it will literally create a thumbnail for all the vehicles only driving in. And some people, that's important. Like I've done brokers, a military highway out there in Maquiladoras where they wanted to know about that. And again, that's how you use AI to just make it so much. There's a lot of things going on. There's some of them they get frustrated with having to spend so much time on history. And this is how AI makes you stand out from your competition when you start telling your customers on your quote why they should hire you compared to the other guys. Because I promise you, a lot of the other guys are just turning in quotes and they're just saying camera, 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 and they're not going into details on their description. Well, this is how you can stand apart. So you see, since the NVR detects that the camera has audio, that's why there's a feature there for audio. So let me go to another camera that doesn't have it. You'll see that that setting disappears. Yeah, so this camera doesn't have, like this camera has no AI, so that's why it doesn't show it. Actually, go here. So now that you see, remember when I showed you my house earlier, now it's making more sense of why I did my parameters. Like me, I want to know when somebody jumps in or jumps out, it's regardless, these AI lines like this, I could run a search, show me only the sidewalk, and I will literally get a thumbnail only when people were on that portion of my sidewalk. On my phone, I have on my notifications, I want to know when someone walks this area, like I'll get the pop-up on my phone. And so
I think this is great presentation, Joey. One of the things I also wanted to point out here is the fact that remember that even though if your camera is not deterrence, meaning it does not have the IR, I'm sorry, the white, the blue and red police lights and or the speaker, it can still send you push notifications right on time. So somebody comes in or breaks one of those lines that you guys draw, you're gonna get an immediate notification in your phone, and it can also be scheduled so that you can get those at certain times of the day. Okay. Another point here is that Joey, try to browse for something. That's very important, guys. Always program your recorders and make sure your time is accurate. If the time is not accurate, it will cause you a lot of problems. So that is a very important point to consider whenever you're installing your recorders. Make sure that you have your time programmed and synchronized correctly. Okay. And also, I wanted to reply to that question that Jerry had, where he said that, where he asked if there was a benefit having an MVR with AI and also a camera with AI. The reality is that the only benefit is that if you only have, let's say if you have a 16-channel MVR with AI, and you only have 8 cameras that can do AI, then the recorder can have the capability of making the other cameras that don't have the AI do AI. Okay, so take a look at the specifications on your recorders, and that can be found also in our website. And that those specifications will tell you the amount of cameras that your recorders can do AI. So for the other cameras, if let's say you get an 8-channel MVR and it can only do 2 or 4 channels for AI, then you could get the other cameras with the AI features and then do all of the cameras do AI. Okay. So now, basically now, right now, most of our camera line does AI. We're slowly, well, actually quickly migrating into a AI for all of our IP cameras. So the majority of them, they have AI, and for those recorders that you had previously, if they're not that old, maybe there are some firmware updates that we can do to make them compatible with the AI cameras so that you can manage the AI features through the recorders. Okay, so keep that in mind. For the HD over coax recorders, the recorder is the one that's doing the magic. So if you want a deterrence camera, you can buy a deterrence camera, and you're going to be able to program it from the DVR. Okay. For the other cameras, the regular cameras, you're going to have to stick to the amount of AI that the recorders can do, that the DVRs can do. So there's no way around that one on the recorders, on the DVRs.
Let me see if you guys could hear my audio with, I'm going to play a video of my neighbor that was having construction, but I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it. Let me go ahead and click play. Let me go ahead and just play it so they could see when the thugs were running away after the camera scared them. And even though you can't hear the siren and everything, you'll at least I'll play the video. Okay, let me just do full screen. So ever since they triggered this camera, it's kind of blurry because remember, I'm using my cell phone to record the screen, and I wish you guys could hear what I'm talking because I was doing this video when I sent to the owner, obviously because my NVR is recording the backyard. But what I was trying to say is that you saw how it scared them away and they started running away from the site. And they were having that construction home was having problems with vandals, and they took forever to build the house. And I noticed the problem because I'm the neighbor and I could tell there's people back there all the time. And I offered it to the owner, and he said, yeah, let's do it. And then within 2 weeks, like after those people went, those they're up to no good at 2 or 3 in the morning. And after that moment, they haven't been back the past 2 to 3 months. So it's a good feature if you want to sell it to construction people that they could use. All right.
We have another question. Kate is asking if is there a way to export the clips to a thumb drive or even locally to a phone for event recording specifically?
On the phone, there's a setting where you export it, but if on the NVR, once you put the USB into the NVR, it pops up immediately. A wizard pops up saying, hey, we're going to go and export. Do you want to back up NVR settings or do you want to back up a video? And so when you pop it in, you'll see that pop up, and it asks for the pattern to unlock. But I mean, let's see, let me show you how to do it from the browser. Since the easiest way for the customer is when they put a USB right into the NVR and it pops up on that screen, if they even have a local monitor. If not, then they have to rely now on software or browser. But the easiest, let's start with the easiest way. The easiest way is NVR. You stick the USB in the front and it pops up on the screen. And you'll see that if you guys have an NVR there to test it out. You put the USB in, it starts asking, okay, put a check mark on all cameras, one camera, and then the time range. And then it'll export it as a MP4, I believe. When you're on the browser, all right, this is for the setting. This is for settings. Let me show you. There's that backup option here. Yeah, on the local NVR, there's another setting, but here you would do it from the search. All right, let me go open up this TDS MS. All right, way back.
Yeah, there's a quick way to do a video backup from the phone app, which may not give you the highest quality, but it will be a very quick way to do it as well. When you're seeing a video on your phone app, there's like a little camcorder icon that you could press and it'll start recording that particular clip. And then when you press it again, it'll stop recording it and automatically will be saving it to your library. From the library, you can click export and it'll send it to your pictures. And once it is in your pictures on your phone, you can send it via email, via text, like post it on Facebook, do whatever it is that you want to do with it in a quick manner.
All right, so on the SMS software, you go to history and you say search on the camera. I'm going to say play. But here's the settings where you would trim the time that you want to download. So by default, it's real small. You could probably barely see it, but it's saying it's going to export about 4 minutes, but you can start stretching this out to wherever you want. And then you click the download icon down here. You can say you want the AVI MP4. And it's going to give you the location. I'm going to stop the playback. Gotta stop the playback of the live. I'm going to click X. There it goes. Yeah. It's because I mean that when people's like I said, the NVR, if they have access to the NVR with a monitor, that's the easiest. You put the USB in and it pops up. It's the most easiest way. But if you're talking about doing it over the network with the software, you go to history, and when as you're watching history, it's these icons down here. You click the clip button, and then after you set it, you click the clip button again, and it pops up that option where it asks for MP4 or AVI.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, no, I was gonna say that is a good example. So do you want to pause that one so you don't use resources from your computer? And then I would like you to show Jerry how to access, you know, the web interface from the TDSMS. He said that he tried that, but it didn't work. And I want you to please show him how to do it. So from the SMS.
Well, right now I'm on the local network, Jerry. I'm on the local network, typing the IP address.
No. But Joey, so if you go to your TDSMS, you have the ability to go to device config and then just tunnel through your MVR or a DVR, whatever that you have, even if you haven't registered with the serial number, so that whenever you're on the web interface, you can start enabling the AI or changing the AI. So can you just pull up your TDSMS again? And then go to device config. You might want to close the rest of them. Okay, there you go. It's okay. So Jerry, that's where you'd go. And if you just choose whichever recorder that is connected, do you have you could choose the same recorder that we have here, or there it is. Oh, that's a.
I have it's a event monitoring to pop up whenever something happens.
Okay. Do you have, there it is. And this is where, so you see those little blue buttons illuminating, Jerry? If you see that little word that says link to web, though, that button is what's gonna get you to go to the recorder's web interface so that you can program the AI. So right now it takes a little bit because you're remoting, right? So it'll open up another window, and you will have the user interface, the user interface or the web interface of the recorder, and you're gonna be able to work as if you were locally in the recorder. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, so if you have questions, Jerry, on how to do it and all that, just let us know. But right now, you know, I don't know if you are using multiple screens, Joe, or not, but there should be a pop-up coming up. There it is. You see? So now you're gonna be able to remote in. It might take you a little bit of time. It also depends on the recorder. I'm sorry, on the where the recorder is, how the internet connection is, where you are, and all that stuff. So that, you know, that the speed of the connection is.
You see that IP became it's like a VPN tunnel. This is a loop back, like it's this, if you know about IT, this is like the IP address of my local laptop, but the software makes a tunnel, it port forwards it over the encryption of the VPN, and it's like if I'm locally now on the camera.
So you can change the network, the event, everything, like if you're locally. That way you don't have to roll your events out there to your customer. So there it is. There it is. That's the example. And that's one of the beauties of the software, Jerry. So again, I mean, it does work, and it works well, so that you don't have to be rolling out the banner or doing some service. Even the backup, like if you have some customers that want to get some backup and they just don't want to do it themselves, you could just remote in into their devices and do it from your office. And then, you know, once you have it, you could send them email it to them. So it's a very versatile software, and you can do a lot of stuff remotely. Basically, everything that you would do locally, you could do it remotely, even if you're only connected via serial number. But okay, so it's 9:58, guys, and I think that is about it for today's presentation. Really, Joey, thank you so much. It was a great presentation. I think we all learned a lot today. There's a lot more to it, but we're gonna continue doing these webinars with more stuff and more interesting features and of our products. So stay tuned. We're gonna have another training next Thursday and the following one. And Joey, do you mind going back to the ToughDog website, please? There it is. Go to the main page. And if you go to our the main page, the home page, oh, there it is. Now we actually even have an events little button there that will take you to all the webinars that we're going to be having for the next month or 2 months, actually. So feel free to go in there and register yourself so that you can learn more about, you know, what we have to say. The next one is the wireless cellular. The following one is going to be solar solutions, and then the NDAA compliant solutions. And after that, we're going to have in May webinars in Spanish. So if you have customers, or especially like Cade, if you have you know, customers that would like to learn something in Spanish during the month of May, we're gonna have some webinars in Spanish as well. So stay tuned, register to the webinars that you believe are of your interest, and help us pass the word out there so that your customers can also learn more about this. And again, stay tuned, because we're going to have many more webinars and instructions so that you guys can learn more about our products. So with that, I'd like to thank you, everybody, for attending. And I don't know, Joey, do you have anything else to say? Alejandra, anybody else?
Just to show maybe a little quick screenshots of the last camera, just to show, just to emphasize the topic of how you to filter out the AI lines. So here, easy again, it's very easy for me to find when people were coming onto the private property, but it still shows you when I go back to show all motion, I still get important events of the background, but I'm not wasting history space with general recording. So you guys will learn more about that on other webinars.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, any more questions, guys? No? All right, well, with that, we're gonna conclude this webinar. Thank you, everybody, for attending. It was a great session. Thank you again, Joy. Great job. And we'll see you next week.